Hey, I'm Jamie East, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. If you're running a business, any kind of business, you're probably spending some time thinking about AI, what to do, how much to use it, and how to even get started. The answer could be in your pocket. The new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, powered by Vodafone Business's reliable, award-winning network, will help you unleash your productivity through brilliant built-in Galaxy AI. For example, Note Assist will automatically correct, fix the spelling, formatting and organise your meeting notes so you can stay tuned into the session without any worry. This week saw a surprising new fan of AI as ABBA's Bjorn Ulvaeus revealed at South by Southwest in London that he's been using AI to help generate new material, although he warned it's really bad at lyrics. Mamma mia. Getting back to the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, to take advantage of all the features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network. 7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Sunday 7. On today's episode of the award-winning Sunday 7, we take a look at the UK's plans for AI, sample a poo pill, and find out how to save the Hazel dormouse. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, has the latest on Apple's big announcements and a deep dive on period tracking apps. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We're here 7 days a week at 7 a.m. with the 7 biggest stories on the Smart 7 in association with Metro. Before we get started, though, it was on this day in 1919 that Captain John Alcock and Lieutenant Arthur W. Brown successfully completed the first non-stop transatlantic airplane flight. They flew from Newfoundland to Clifton Island in 16 hours 12 minutes and won the prize offered by the London Daily Mail. Their aircraft was a Vickers Vimy, which was originally designed as a bomber. They faced a lot of problems, their radio broke down, fog and drizzle prevented the flyers from seeing anything, and they aimed to land in a green field but instead turned out to be a bog. The plane suffered a bit of damage when it hit the ground and sank into the bog, but both Alcock and Brown came away unhurt. 7. This week was London Tech Week, which was hugely focused on one topic: artificial intelligence. The event was opened by Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who made a number of announcements as part of his keynote speech. The government's investing £1 billion into a new fund to upgrade the UK's computing power. There's a plan to speed up planning permission for data centres and a trial of a new AI-powered data call called Extract, which is to be rolled out to local councils. The PM was keen to emphasise that AI is going to play a crucial role in the UK's economy, and he was urging people to lean into it.
I've always said AI and tech makes us more human. Which sounds an odd thing to say, but it's true. And we need to say it because, look, some people out there are sceptical. They do worry about AI taking their job. And I know for an audience like this is a debate that's been had perhaps many times, and we need to push past it. But for people listening to us, they worry about, will it make their lives more complicated? And even for businesses who get it, the pace of change can feel relentless.
Teaching and training are one of the focuses, with a new fund of almost £200 million aimed at bringing tech skills and AI into the classroom. The Department of Education also announced that it will now allow teachers to use AI for things like marking exam papers and even generating routine letters for parents about things like head lice. However, the government's found itself in a row with creators over AI, with the House of Lords and Sir Elton John teaming up to battle their proposed data use bill, which appears to allow AI companies to use copyrighted material to train models. There's been a running battle back and forward between the Lords and the House of Commons over amendments to protect artists, and this week Tech Secretary Peter Kyle finally addressed the matter. He says the plan now is to completely revise copyright law, and that's why he's been blocking the changes on the data bill.
The amendment only tackles one part of the copyright challenge of moving from the analogue age that creatives face in an analogue copyright system that we have. I have offered to come back and comprehensively update copyright for the digital age. So this is not a question of me standing against creatives and them for it. It's just I think my way forward will give more protections to creatives, not less, and far more rights for creatives going forward than the person that's putting forward one particular amendment on one particular part of it.
The UK has a strong history of innovation and invention, and it's no different when it comes to AI. Toby Brown's a teenager who's postponed his GCSEs to move to California, as you do, because he's invented an AI agent called Beem, which has already attracted over $1 million in investment. He met with the PM this week to urge him to support innovation and entrepreneurs and spoke to the BBC before the meeting.
I think I'll tell him a lot about what we're trying to do. I want to talk a lot about how the UK and actually Europe in general is willing to support that, because it was a real shame to me that I had to go and seek US venture to pursue my idea and pursue my vision. It's always been a personal goal of mine to be able to move out to California, but the fact that it kind of became a necessity was really quite sad to me. So I'd love to see some more support around kind of UK venture and AI.
It's a pretty good time for new launches and innovation at the moment. The rollout of Nintendo Switch 2 seems to have caught the public's imagination, and Xbox now seem keen to enter the handheld chat with a new device of their own. And that, together with a pretty dramatic Apple developer event this week, means there's only one thing left to do, and that's to get our Smart 7 tech guru Will Guyatt on the line ASAP. Hey Will, looks like a pretty busy tech week, with Apple in particular. What did they announce?
Well, as you'd expect in 2025, it was loaded to the gills with artificial intelligence-related activity and improvements. But elsewhere, one of the major things for nerds like me is that Apple is now naming its operating systems by year. It got really complicated to have iOS 19 on the iPhone, watchOS 12 for the smartwatch, Mac OS 16 for the computer, and TV OS 22 for the Apple TV. Instead, you'll have 26 at the end of all new versions next year to identify it's the operating system for 2026.
Talk to me about this liquid glass thing then. It's a bit different, isn't it? But some of the screenshots I've seen wouldn't make ex-Apple design guru Johnny Ives that happy, would they?
I'm definitely no design expert, but liquid glass looks to me like it's been designed by an A-level art student from 1997, unless I've missed something from any of the content I've seen so far. It's meant to add more transparency to all buttons and controls that Apple has across all of its interfaces, and it's also supposed to unify the look of all of its interfaces across the many devices it now sells. It's the first proper new user interface from Apple for a number of years, and people typically don't like change. But that said, I've already seen examples of buttons mingling with wallpaper and notifications being almost impossible to read. But the operating systems are all currently in developer beta, so this may change. But while loads of people are dunking on Apple repeatedly online for liquid glass, the founder of the emerging UK smartphone and tech business Nothing, Carl Pei, said, "Liquid glass, I kinda love it." You can never tell with Apple, so let's see how it goes.
Okay, lovely stuff. They've also been busy adding in AI bits too. What's going on with Apple Watch?
As any tech company worth their salt would do, there were splashes of AI everywhere. For those who love their smartwatch for exercising, there's a new AI-powered workout buddy which seems to turn your device into a personal Mr. Motivator, generating advice and encouragement for you to really feel the burn. And apparently, stick with me, you'll be able to channel 80s TV legend The Fonz with your Apple Watch, as it's going to get a new wrist flick gesture to dismiss the bazillions of notifications you get in style. And the notifications are gone. Elsewhere, Apple Intelligence can now search for what's on your tablet or smartphone screen by just screenshotting it, and it will search for whatever's there on Google, Etsy, and other online services. Apple's also said it's opening up access to its on-device large language model. That's the brains behind its AI functions, and that's going to allow developers to create tools of their own built on Apple's expertise and the billions of dollars they've spent on building Apple Intelligence so far.
Not only that, they've turned their attention to the humble phone call. It's a bit retro, isn't it?
Google Android owners will tell you that they've been all over this old school phone call vibe for years, and now it would appear that Apple are giving it some love as well. Hold Assist takes the company's current live voicemail transcript, which shows you in real time the message someone is leaving and allows you to pick up the call if you want, and takes it one step further. Now, if you're on hold, listening to music, or that voice telling you how much your call is valued and somebody's going to get to you in 20 minutes or so, you can now let your phone stay on the line and it will let you know when it's time to get back on the call. Essentially, you're putting the on hold, if that makes sense. And also, you're going to be able to use this AI to ensure that only calls where the person has given their name and reason for calling come through to your device. I'll definitely be ensuring that Cal from Kebab World has AAA gold access to my number.
So, Will, talk to me about your new best friend, the Switch 2. Seems to be a bit of a hit.
For all the snark and cynicism from certain corners online, the Nintendo Switch 2 has become the company's fastest-selling console of all time, shifting an impressive 3.5 million devices in just 3 days. And Mario Kart World is winning critical acclaim from reviewers and gamers alike, and apparently sold with 80% of all Switch 2s shipped. But now, it's all about what's next. We know there's a new Donkey Kong game next month, but Nintendo Switch 2 titles were light at the recent Summer Games Fest in Los Angeles, which revealed all the big games for Christmas and beyond. I'm sure Nintendo has plenty up its sleeves, we just haven't seen it yet.
How seriously do you think Xbox are about pushing into the handheld market? What was it they quietly launched this week?
They've been rumoured for a while, but we saw the first 2 handheld Xbox consoles revealed this week at Summer Games Fest, and they're coming from PC maker Asus rather than Microsoft itself. The ROG Xbox Ally and the more powerful ROG Xbox Ally X will go on sale later this year, and essentially handheld PC consoles that will tap into Microsoft's popular Netflix-like Game Pass subscription, while also allowing you to access other PC game stores like Steam. And perhaps more interestingly than the hardware itself is that the Xbox team at Microsoft have been spending time working on the software end of things, and are working on a less bloated version of the Windows operating system purely for gaming handhelds, because so far we've discovered from early PC gaming handhelds that actual Windows like you've got on your computer or laptop properly sucks on a tiny gaming screen.
Aside from gaming, there's a new Cambridge University report that makes for fascinating reading. Can you talk to me a little bit about period tracker apps?
There's a growing number of apps that now track women's menstrual cycles, but somehow they've been completely commercialised, profiling everything from your exercise routine, your diet and medication, through to sexual preferences, hormone levels, and the use of contraception.
Seems like a potential goldmine in data terms. Isn't it a bit creepy though?
Absolutely. This tracking data is being treated the same as our consumer habits by some app creators, and the data is now being sold at scale. These apps are often being used by women attempting to get pregnant, and having a child equals great excitement to big corporations, as it means you're changing your consumer behaviour and it can flog you loads of stuff. Currently, if you're selling this data on pregnancy, it's typically going for 200 times more than data on age, gender or location for targeted advertising. So they are literally sat on a goldmine. And in just 2024, free apps in this space were downloaded by 250 million women worldwide.
What's the advice from the report's authors?
The researchers are urging public health bodies like the NHS here in the UK to provide trustworthy alternatives, rather than those seemingly created just to make the developer rich. They also stress there needs to be greater public awareness and digital literacy around period tracking, with education in schools so young people are less vulnerable.
Thanks, Will. Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, we sample a poo pill and introduce you to the ice-cold sound of a glacier. Poo's a tricky subject. It's not something that we talk about that much, but it's pretty essential to our health, and as it turns out, could be a key to unlocking a solution for so-called superbugs. One of the greatest threats to humanity is bugs that become resistant to antibiotic treatment, including MRSA and TB, which leaves them effectively untreatable through traditional means. Scientists have already experimented with poo transplant to treat issues like severe diarrhoea caused by the C. difficile infection, and they observed that the transplant, which involves providing a healthy sample for patients who are infected, also had a significant impact on superbugs in the patient. It turns out our bowels are where the superbugs and their antibiotic-resistant strains love to lurk, and now a new study in the UK has been exploring the idea of using poo pills to help clear out the troublesome infections. These pills will contain healthy samples and are far easier to manage and handle than poo transplants. And they're also experimenting with the poo pills to help treat patients with compromised immune systems because of diseases like pancreatic cancer, as Dr. Michael Silverman, who's a research scientist at the Lawson Research Institute in London, explains.
So the possibility that this new approach, which has been very helpful in some other forms of cancer, particularly melanoma and lung cancer, could be extended to people suffering with pancreatic cancer is very exciting.
The intention is to use the pills to help patients improve their immunity and target bugs and infection in the bowels and pancreas to give patients a better chance at survival. The trial's scheduled to run for 2 years, and Dr. John Lenehan, who's involved in the project, says the potential's huge.
We also know from earlier science studies that there are bugs that live in the tumour itself, and there's some evidence that says changing the gut bugs will actually change the tumour bugs. So if we can change those tumour bugs, we think that we can make the chemotherapy work better.
With the world warming up and record temperatures at the North Pole, the world's glaciers are under serious threat. So it seems like the perfect moment for environmental composer Konstantine Vlasis to introduce us to the sound of glaciers. Vlasis is a 2024 Fulbright National Geographic Award winner, and he's been busy creating an immersive audio story which is called When Glaciers Sing. He's been recording the sound of glaciers in Iceland and using that audio to trace a story of their history and reflect the danger they're in today. The process he uses is called glacial auscultation, and that's a technique which uses the sound of the glaciers to help diagnose the planet's health. Konstantine spoke to The World at One this week.
That's the sound of actual ice flowing. And I think for me in my work, I'm really interested in what sort of stories do glacier sounds tell us. And I think maybe just in general, they remind us that a glacier is not just a mass of ice, that a glacier is a mass of ice that moves. And every movement creates a sound. And so in that way, every sound tells a story about what a glacier is, how it functions, and why it's changing so rapidly today.
Still to come on the Sunday 7 in association with Metro, mosquitoes, climate and dormice.
Right after this.
Hey, it's Jamie East here, and today's episode of The Smart 7 is sponsored by Vodafone Business in partnership with Samsung. When you're running your own business, pretty much anywhere can be your office. The spare room, the back garden, or, even the local cafe. And with the power of Vodafone Business's reliable award-winning network, combined with the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, there's no limit to what you can do pretty much anywhere. For example, if you're working and caffeinating at the same time, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra will allow you to seamlessly complete actions across a whole range of apps to find relevant information and send it where it needs to go. It can even summarise YouTube videos for you and save it to Samsung text notes. That's the power of AI in your pocket. This week saw a surprising new fan of AI as Abbas Bjornulveus revealed at South by Southwest in London that he's been using AI to help generate new material, although he warned it's really bad at lyrics. Mamma mia. And getting back to Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, to take advantage of all the features and change the way you do business, you'll need a Samsung account and a network connection. And if you're using the seamless action across apps, it's compatible with selected languages only. You'll also need a Google account login, and the availability of search functions may vary by country, language and device. To find out more, search Vodafone Business Samsung, and for network verification, go to vodafone.co.uk/network.
Welcome back.
The tiny mosquito is estimated to be responsible for about 1 million deaths a year worldwide. The insect's not necessarily dangerous in itself, it's not venomous, and they don't gang up on you to cause harm, but their habit of biting and drawing blood turns out to be a very effective way to spread some seriously nasty diseases. They're behind the spread of both the West Nile virus and dengue fever, which has seen a dramatic increase with a doubling of cases in North and South America in 2024 to 10 million reported incidents. The real number may even be higher, but it's made tackling the humble mozzie much more important, and scientists at the University of South Florida have a new system they think might make a difference. Professor Sriram's Chellappan says the trap can quickly work out which species of mosquito are which and which ones might be carrying infectious diseases.
And given the advancements in AI, we decided that we can come up with a smart AI-enabled mosquito trap that can trap mosquitoes, use AI to automatically identify the disease-spreading ones, whether it's Zika, malaria, dengue, etc. Identifying where the disease-carrying mosquitoes are is very important, because then the public health officials can go there and launch control efforts to prevent further outbreaks.
The device isn't that expensive either, costing her just over £100, and entomologist Dr. Tom Mascari says the new tech's helpful, but people also need to take greater care when it comes to avoiding the mozzies.
One thing we know from a century or more of efforts to try and combat these diseases is that it's going to take more than one solution. So we know that tried and true things like using a personal repellent, one that contains DEET or picaridin or other active ingredients that are shown to be effective. We know that if you protect yourself appropriately with these products at the times when mosquitoes are going to bite you, and if you're particularly looking at mosquitoes that may transmit diseases, you know that you can have a big impact on protecting yourself or your family from these mosquitoes that could transmit disease.
Last Sunday marked World Oceans Day, and this week saw the UN's third Oceans Conference get underway in France. UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres has been a loud and consistent voice on climate change, famously warning that humanity was opening the gates of hell by failing to respond to rising global temperatures. This week his focus was on the oceans, and he criticised the greed that was driving a plundering of the ocean's resources.
There is a tipping point approaching, beyond which recovery may become impossible. And let us be clear, powerful interests are pushing us towards the brink. We are facing a hard battle against a clear enemy. Its name is greed.
Prince William was also in attendance and called for firmer protection.
What once seemed an abundant resource is diminishing before our eyes. We all stand to be impacted, and we are all responsible for change, both negative and positive. But there remains time to turn this tide. Together, we have signed up to an ambitious global commitment to protect 30% of land and sea by 2030.
Climate change concerns along with diversity seem to have been banned under Donald Trump's new administration, and his team have been busy cutting funding for many essential conservation programmes. John Kerry was Joe Biden's global climate envoy and former US Secretary of State, and he spoke to ITV News this week about the impact that Donald Trump's dramatic cutbacks on climate change will have.
Well, I'm very sad. I'm very sad that our country is not leading in the way that we were with President Biden and President Obama. I'm very sad for humanity that any one nation is standing in the way of what the science tells us we must do in order to protect life, protect food production, protect the capacity of the ocean to provide us, the oxygen that it provides us. I think most people aren't even aware that the majority of the oxygen we breathe every day comes from the ocean. And yet we're pouring massive amounts of garbage, massive amounts of pollution. It is the burning of fossil fuel without capturing the emissions that is creating the challenge of the oceans that are now warmer than they've ever been in our lifetimes, or in, frankly, massive amount of time.
The hazel dormouse is a tiny rodent native to Britain, but increasingly under threat. It's the only dormouse in the British Isles, and its numbers have declined by 51% since 2000, partly due to loss of its natural woodland habitat. There is some good news though, as conservationists have just released a small colony of about 20 of the adorable creatures into a secret woodland location near Leicestershire. It's the second colony introduced to the wild after a successful pilot scheme last year in the National Forest in Derbyshire. Ian White has an extraordinary job title. He's the Dormouse Officer at the People's Trust for Endangered Species, and he says it's critical to protect this species from extinction.
Hazel dormice are one of our rarest UK mammals, so they generally live in shrubby understory, and because we've lost a lot of our shrubby understory in our woodlands, the species as a whole is declining. So this reintroduction programme aims to restore dormice from where they've been lost in the country.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
Hi guys, it's Hannah from Giggly Squad. With summer around the corner, I wanted to tell you guys how I'm staying comfy and stylish. Lululemon is my secret weapon. There are plenty of copycats out there, but nothing compares to the Lululemon fabrics and fit. I've literally had my pair of Lululemon leggings since college. And I'm out of college. I know I don't look it, but I am. The quality is next level. I especially love the Lululemon Align collection. It's made with this weightless, buttery soft Nulu fabric that feels like next to nothing. It's so soft. Whether you're in Align pants, shorts, a bra, tank, skirt, a dress, you get non-stop flexibility in every direction so you can stretch the summer limits. Align even wicks sweat. And as a sweaty girl, I love this. You know it's going to be my best friend when I play tennis this summer. Shop the Align collection online at lululemon.com or your nearest Lululemon store.